Listen. Okay. I'm putting the Ravens hat away for a second. For a quick second, I'm putting the Ravens hat away. I'm taking the Ravens glasses off. What a game. Incredible game. What an ending. God, it sucks the way it ended. But what a game. What a game. Joey, yeah, I probably did just get called for illegal formation. I probably did. This was it was a brutal ending. I'm not going to lie, guys. It was a brutal ending, but there were so many positives to take away from this, some negatives as well, things the team has to work on. But you lose to Kansas City by a toenail. A toenail's the difference between potentially going ahead and winning it with the 2-point, between kicking the field goal and tying it. I think we go for 2, so it's getting decided there anyway. Listen, that sucked. 27-20, Ravens lose, but I can't be too mad about losing by that toenail. Like, it sucks. I wanted to throw up, gut-wrenching, but looking back, the Chiefs won. The Chiefs beat us. They won that. They earned it 27-20. We're going to dive into it pretty in depth in a second. Kevin Ostreicher, the other half of Kevin and Zach Reacts, will be joining me in the next few minutes. He just got finished playing. Just got finished doing Locked on Ravens. I'm sure a bunch of you were over there watching that as well. But Ravens lose 27-20. Let's go over the stats real quick. Lamar Jackson, 26 for 41, 273 yards, a touchdown. He also had 122 rushing yards on 16 carries. If I do the math right, that is 395 total yards for Lamar Jackson. Listen, Lamar Jackson showed up today. Were there things he can improve on? Yeah. Was it perfect? Was it picture perfect Lamar Jackson MVP type? Not necessarily. But Lamar, one thing we learned today, Lamar is a lot faster with the lost weight. A lot faster, a lot more nimble, a lot more agile. It felt like you really started to see it come out when he was in the open field. He just looks quick. Unfortunately, though, it was another game where you had to rely on hero ball Lamar Jackson. And that's not how you're going to win games. The rest of the team needs to get it together, especially the offensive line, which we'll get more into when Kevin hops on. But you need to take this game for what it was. It was week 1 against the 2-time defending champs in Arrowhead, and the difference in the game was Isaiah Likely not wearing a half size too small shoe. If Isaiah Likely's wearing a half size smaller, it's 26-27, Ravens going for 2, and we'll talk about it. And we'd be talking about potentially a win. So not too shabby from Lamar Jackson. Let's go on to the running backs. Derrick Henry, 13 carries for 46 yards. This is where I start to get into a little bit of the what are we doing type. Listen, I get 13 carries for Derrick Henry while we were losing a majority of the game. I understand. They wanted to pass the ball. But you went out there. This offseason. And said, go out, get Derrick Henry, and let's run the damn ball. I would have liked to seen a little bit more. I would have liked to see a little bit more from, and it's not a little bit more from Derrick Henry. I thought Derrick Henry had, for his carries, Derrick Henry had a pretty decent game. Nothing overly special, but the type of guy Derrick Henry is you let him fight through the first 10-ish, rushes. He's going to just wear the defense down, and then he takes over, giving him just 13 touches, 5 on the first drive, only 3 the rest of the first half. That's when you want to really start using Derrick Henry to wear down defenses. That's when you want to use Derrick Henry. So a little bit disappointed in his usage tonight. But for the situation, especially once they went down 10, they had to throw the ball. Unfortunately, as soon as they went down 10, their hands were tied. They had to throw it. So that's the unfortunate part. Speaking of running backs, though, Justice Hill, 1 carry for 3 yards, but that is not what we're talking about. Justice Hill also had 6 receptions for 52 yards. And on that final drive, if you want to talk about, we can talk about Isaiah Likely stepping up all game. We can talk about Rashad Bateman stepping up with that catch. We can talk about Lamar Jackson playing hero ball. You want to talk about a guy who it won't show up on the stat sheet, but on that final drive was maybe the biggest key to the whole thing. Justice Hill putting his body on the line, stepping toe-to-toe with Chris Jones on the edge every single time and making sure the offense had an opportunity to go win that game. I know I had the Justice Hill 3 touchdown score parlay last year, all that, but tonight, Justice Hill gained so much damn respect from me. I loved what we saw from Justice Hill tonight in the pass game, receiving game, and then also just when the team needed him to do the dirty stuff, when it just needed to get filthy, go roll the sleeves up and go throw chip blocks, go take on Chris Jones 1v1 on the edge. This was Justice Hill. Absolutely loved what I saw from Justice Hill. The next guy, it's hard to say. It's hard to go, even though I've been going for 10 minutes now, I'm surprised I haven't talked about him more besides obviously the final play. Isaiah Likely, dog. We want to talk about certified dogs. Isaiah Likely, 9 catches, 111 yards, 1 touchdown. Isaiah Likely stepped the F up tonight. Let's call it what it is. When the team needed someone to step up and take over in the receiving game, it felt like Isaiah Likely was the guy every single time. It literally felt like it was Isaiah Likely and Justice Hill. It felt like at times it was literally just alternating between Justice Hill and Isaiah Likely, which was not on my bingo card. Got to fix the glasses a little bit, which was not on my bingo card. But, man, Isaiah Likely, dog out there. I cannot put that touchdown, the agility, the speed. You see so much. You see so much potential in Isaiah Likely game after game, and it feels like each game the lights get brighter and Isaiah Likely steps up even more. He's going to have hopefully a monster season, 111 receiving yards already. Incredible. We're going to get to the offensive line. We're going to get to the offensive line, and we're going to get to this illegal formation stuff. So don't you worry about that. Other receivers, Zay Flowers, 6 receptions for 37 yards, 10 targets. Zay had an okay game. Zay looks shifty. He really does. I like the shiftiness from Zay. The one thing is I wish he would just go north and south. There are so many times I know the Rashad Bateman one got called back. Well, the one screen got called back because of the Rashad Bateman offensive pass interference. But that was an example of Zay Flowers getting the ball in space. He can go get the first down if he puts his head down. But instead, he does he starts shaking, he starts spin moving, going back a few yards, trying to go forward. Steve, it's almost like at times Zay is too shifty for his own good. Like he can break anyone's ankles. And also British Raven, appreciate you. This also might be the latest I've been awake for a reaction. So it's 6:30 in the morning there. British Raven, appreciate you as always for tuning in. Mike also saying, trying to do too much, just get the yards. Completely agree. There are moments, especially when it's second down, you get the screenplay. Go get the first. Just go get the first. I don't need all the dancing. I don't need the spin moves. I don't need to juke 7 guys out of their shoes just to go get the first down. Just go get the first. Let's get up. Let's go move on. So that for Zay Flowers, he looks super shifty. I love, I think he and Lamar's connection is going to just continue to grow, but definitely was not the massive explosive game that we were maybe hoping from Zay. We're talking about guys who have shown up, really did help the squad. Mark Andrews, 2 receptions, 14 yards, long of 11. What a weird game for Mark Andrews. I think, honestly, unfortunately, the game plan going in was Mark Andrews was unfortunately going to almost be used like a 6th lineman. You saw almost every single one of his routes he was chipping. It felt like he was just almost used as a 6th lineman, and then he was off the field a lot. Mike saying, I think he's still not 100% after the car accident. I agree. I mean, I don't want to speculate, obviously, anything, but that was one of those things that happened a few weeks ago. They said he was fine immediately, but those things can kind of take a day or two after the adrenaline kind of goes off to really see what happened. He then missed a bunch of practices, so we'll see. We'll see what happens with Mark Andrews. I'm hoping he can get to 100%. I don't want to say I'm hoping he wasn't 100% tonight, but it would be nice to see him get a little bit more involved. But it felt like part of the game plan was just using him almost like a extra lineman. So we'll see how it goes with. It feels like we talk about the same thing with Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews. They can't both have good games. Isn't that it feels like it's so hard for them to have good games together. You rarely see a game where both of them have 50 yards on 5-6 receptions. It feels like one of them goes off and the other kind of disappears. We'll see if that's the case. I still want to run the 2 tight end set. Honestly, I think that's the way to go. I think that puts us in the best opportunity to win, especially with Derrick Henry. I think especially with guys like Zay and Bateman on the outside, you can run 2 tight ends, having Likely and Andrews also on the field. I think that is your best shot at having a productive offense. I'm waiting for Kevin before we go too deep because I want to get his opinion on the offensive line, which we'll get to also because I'm bringing up offensive linemen. I got to talk about that absolute pancake that Isaiah Likely put on. I think it was George Karlaftis. Isaiah Likely was just on one at all levels, at every single play. Didn't matter. We saw him get hurt. We literally saw him, this 3rd to last play. Isaiah Likely falls hard on the ground for a few minutes. It's like, okay, I'm not going to lie. I started getting the heart drop of, is something broken? Is something wrong? Did he bruise something? What's happening? All of a sudden goes out there. Final play, they're like, Isaiah Likely's out there. Who do they look for? Isaiah Likely. Who do they throw it up to? Isaiah Likely. Who comes down with the circus catch? Isaiah Likely. Unfortunately, if he was wearing, I don't know if he's a size 13, if he was wearing a 12 and a half, it's a touchdown. But yeah, Likely looked like he broke his everything and bounced back. And Connor saying, I don't think that is a bad thing if we keep the 2 tight end set. One of them will practically always be open, especially once Mark Andrews gets back to 100%. Because I'm still thinking, like kind of like Mike said, he's probably still feeling a little bit of the effects. But when they're both on the field, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare for defenses to try to guard because you have obviously Derrick Henry. So as soon as there's some sort of play action, linebackers have to come up to respect that. And then boom, Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews work in the middle of the field. It's hard for defenses to game plan for that, especially with the talent and just how much Isaiah Likely has grown as a player. Next, we got Mike saying, thoughts on the new kickoff? First off, appreciate you, Mike. Just get rid of them, in my opinion. It's the kickoff. Like, teams, I think it's going to be the same old, if I'm being honest. I think these first few weeks, teams are going to try different things. Teams are going to try to get a little cute with it, maybe try different returns, try different kicks to put it in awkward spots for runners to take it. But at the end of the day, I think most teams are going to, like we kind of saw tonight, kick it through the end zone, give it to them on the 30. The difference between the 25 and the 30 is not as big as really I think the NFL thought it would be at deterring people from returning kicks or giving touchbacks. And talk a little bit more about the Ravens. I have a friend of mine from Locked On Ravens, Kevin Ostreicher. Kevin, I said it before you got on. Well, obviously before you got on. I said to start the show, I took my Ravens glasses off. I took the Ravens hat off. My Ravens fandom away. Hell of a game. Just a hell of a game to start the NFL season. Sucks that's how it ended, but I can't be upset. Like, in the moment, it was gut-wrenching. It was like a gut punch to have the emotion of we were all jumping up and down. There was a certain Chiefs fan that was going through it in the room when it was ruled a touchdown. It felt like everything was going. And then the toenail, Kevin, the toenail.
Yeah, it was tough, man. It's been a scramble for me, man. I've been going all around. Didn't want to leave you hanging for too long, so I sure wouldn't upload an audio for him. Like, would not. It was stuck at 100% uploading for like 5 minutes. Like, this is ridiculous. But yeah, sorry, guys. 5-yard penalty on me. It's my fault.
Hey, illegal formation. Yep.
Yeah, my fault. My bad on that. Yep. Final tally. And I'm gonna post this probably in the morning. Well, hold on. It is the morning.
It is the morning.
Hold on. It is the morning. Wait. It is the morning. But it's like we see plays like that all the time in sports. But you know what? I tried to reverse jinx it with the 49ers pick tonight. Obviously was not the case. That was obviously the big plan there, is I had to deal with the football gods, because I do this. And if you listen to Locked On Ravens, I've been vocal about it, where is my superstition is I say, well, what am I going to do? What deal am I going to agree to get the Ravens a win? Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. My deal today was embarrass myself on the graphic. Yeah, that's why I said reverse jinx. It was, if you listen to Locked On Ravens, I picked the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. It always has been the Ravens, but I couldn't tell anybody because that was my deal with God. But or I guess the football gods, right? The football gods. Yeah, it's tough. But you know what? Honestly, this game, as weird as this is going to sound, outside of the offensive line, it gave me more confidence in that pick.
Thank you.
Outside of the offensive line, it gives me more confidence that the Ravens go win a Super Bowl. Because I thought they showed heart. I thought they showed determination. They could have given up.
Mm-hmm.
They could have given up. And so when I made my picks on Locked On, I think I made my picks on Locked On Ravens 3 weeks ago. when I picked him to win the Super Bowl 3 weeks ago, it was a lot of we're going to see how the offensive line ends up performing here. And while I think they have a lot of work to do there, we can all acknowledge that Lamar Jackson's throws at the end, right? Missed 2 touchdowns, not great. But they showed fight. And I said, all everybody up and down in the chat. And thank you, Rick, for understanding my football gods deals. So to clear it up, I had picked the Ravens to win the Super Bowl, but my deal that backfired was I had to pick San Francisco. So the whole deal with this Ravens team is that the Chiefs didn't take advantage of the Ravens' mistakes. The Ravens made mistakes. Chiefs didn't take advantage of them. And you could see the Ravens were slowly trying to creep in and say, oh, we're going to get you here. You know, Ravens miss a 53-yard Justin Tucker field goal. Next play, Chiefs make a mistake. And they throw an interception. And the Ravens get those points back.
Yeah.
There are plays throughout the game. But on that final drive, I thought Lamar Jackson, outside of his 2 throws, orchestrated it masterfully. He did what he was supposed to do. The Chiefs were giving him the short checkdowns. What have we been saying for years about Lamar Jackson?
Take
Zach,
the checkdowns.
Take the checkdowns. Take the short stuff. Take what the defense is giving you. And in that exact moment, he didn't have to throw the ball 40 yards to try to get all that chunk. He got it in 4 plays that were taking 5 to 7 seconds off the clock each time. Mm-hmm. He had great determination tonight. I thought for the most part, his decisions were good, where he was also taking rushing lanes. So for me, this game, despite a loss, makes me feel more confident in my Ravens Super Bowl pick. But the big question mark is still the offensive line, and that is how big, or I guess how far they'll go, is if their offensive line can step up. Because Lamar can do his Houdini stuff. We saw it tonight. But he can only do so much by himself.
Yeah. It felt like, kind of like you said, the Ravens did not play perfect by any means. I mean, just 7,000 illegal formation. Now, if you want to actually go into it and see if these were actually illegal formations, that's a whole different.
I don't know. I don't think you listen to Locked On Ravens, Zach, but I went on a whole rant about this and I tweeted about it where Jawan Taylor can. All right, let's do it. I did my demonstration. I'll do it here too. Here's my offensive line pass set. It's not very good. Not an offensive lineman, but here we go. And then he goes. It's a little lean, almost every single play. But instead, let's call Ronnie Stanley for 50 straight illegal formation penalties when you can clearly see on the broadcast, John Harbaugh was done with it. He said, it's like we talk about with the Orioles all the time. If you're going to call it both ways. And John Harbaugh was telling him, call it both ways. Call it both ways. And it wasn't happening. Ronnie Stanley called. I saw the comment. If I can find it quickly. Yep, Joey. Ronnie called out the refs post game. Good for him. I don't have the exact quote, but he essentially said, I was looking at their offensive line, particularly on the right side, and Ronnie Stanley said, I wasn't lining up as far back as that guy was. Mm-hmm. And they were calling it on the Ravens, and they weren't calling it on the Chiefs. So maybe with the new emphasis on the rules, those were illegal formations on the Ravens, fine. But then call it for the Chiefs too. Don't make it this tit for tat thing where it's like, we're just going to call on you and nothing else. And then I'll let you get the first word on this one, Zach. But Steve's comment, what do you think about this whole Steve Spagnuolo thing?
I've never seen like this. Steve Spagnuolo goes down and calls a timeout. They grant it to him. Then the head ref comes on, and this is my favorite part of the NFL. The head ref comes on and goes, yeah, he's not allowed to do that. They shouldn't have done that. And instead of penalty, then they even said, and the one ref recognized it. They're like, oh, he recognized it and couldn't get it done. Like he didn't overturn or whatever. And then the refs just go, whoopsies. And they just let the Chiefs continue. Like, what? I saw a tweet and it was brilliant. It said if the Ravens defensive coordinator tried to call timeout, they would have had him on the firing squad at halftime. Like it was the Chiefs just get away with everything? Like we saw the illegal formation, we saw that. I'm not mad about the roughing the passer, to be honest. He hit him in the head. That's whatever. That's unfortunately that stupid thing's gonna get called every time. But yeah, no, that was bad. The officiating was rough tonight. And, another play call that just, I mean, it ended up not mattering because Isaiah Likely's a dog, but Lamar gets what, 40 yards on a play, and then they're just called back because of some mystery, ticky-tack holding call. Like, it's just, it felt like it was a rough one. It truly was. It felt like I hate using the officials as excuses, especially against the Chiefs. But that was tough. There were times where I literally felt like anytime like they were just going to help them bail them out.
Yeah, it's tough. And I know like the final box score will say Ravens had 7 penalties, Chiefs had 6, but I mean, it felt so much. And again, I'm never one to blame the refs and are like, okay, the refs are the reason the Ravens lost. Like they had their fingerprints on this game, and a lot of them. There were other mistakes that caused the Ravens to lose this game, but man, if we're gonna sit here and talk about how the Ravens had all these legal formation penalties, and I think the one false start they called, or maybe they called 2 on Jawan Taylor, but maybe it was 1 on him, 1 on somebody else for the Chiefs. But the one, I mean, it was like a blatantly, obviously, like started the play before everybody else. There was nothing about his leaning, and there was this issue the entire last season, and they essentially Taylor had 17 false starts, or 17 penalties, just total penalties, excuse me. But what? Man, it's tough. It's tough. So, yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah. Let's talk about the offensive line. What are our thoughts? Room for improvement, that's for sure. Rosengarten, I like that they kept sending him out there, even though he was blatantly mismatched when they put Chris Jones on. But pretty much any tackle's going to be blatantly mismatched with Chris Jones, so not too upset there. Kevin, I don't know what they can do with the right guard. I'm not going to hit the panic button because it's against Chris Jones and the Chiefs and that, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't concerned.
Yeah, I mean, I've been concerned for a while. I mean, this is nothing new to me. Like, this concern is not new-founded. I certainly have been concerned, but I thought on that last drive they looked good. And again, it was within the game flow, and I think as the year goes on, they'll get better. But I don't think that this is the group that you can roll with. I think that also said this on Locked On Ravens too. You can't do this rotation thing again. You can't do it.
No.
You can't. In my opinion, you cannot win the Super Bowl that way. If they prove me wrong, awesome, great. Like, please do. But I've been very outspoken against this. I understand the reasons for it. To throw off timing, to keep your players fresh and do all that type of stuff. But I feel like if you're, especially with a rookie, because the thing is, it's a rookie. Falele was a second-year player last year. Like, that, okay. Or was Falele third last year? No, he was second. He was second.
This was third, yeah.
Yeah. With Rosengarten, it's like that, it's going to be great if he sits behind a guy for a year. Oh, it's great if he starts for a year and gets experience. Doing both is a little weird.
Yeah.
And with the offensive line, like with the way this team is right now, I think Rosengarten at the end of the day is going to be a really good pro. I think he has a very bright future, great career ahead of him. Really tough first play. Coming in again, cold off the bench, and having to go up against Chris Jones in your first NFL snap. I mean, how do we think it was going to go, right? But I think that the floor of your veterans, Ben Cleveland and Patrick McCary, I would rather take the higher floors than the higher ceilings right now. I think that the overall floor of Cleveland and McCary is more important to the Ravens than the ceilings of Daniel Falele and Roger Rosengarten. Because if you were to rank it in order, I think the highest are the ceilings of Rosengarten and Falele. Then just a little bit under that are the ceilings of McCary and Ben Cleveland. And then you go to the floors, where the floor of Ben Cleveland and Passion McCary is, I think, a lot higher than the floor of Daniel Falele and Roger Rosengarten. And this is a contending team.
Yeah.
You need the floor. If you hit on a lottery ticket thing and Rosengarten comes in as an all-pro, that's awesome. But if you're going to do that, do it. Don't half it. Do it. That's what I have to say about that.
Yeah. So I think the biggest concern for everyone right now is the offensive line. I think that's probably the only, I wouldn't say the only spot of concern, but it's definitely the biggest. I think there's a little tweaks here and there. But honestly, Kevin, I'm in the same boat, dude. Like, this team's going to go as far as their offensive line. But was there anything tonight that showed you that this team can't go win the Super Bowl?
No, it's offensive line. I mean, this is week 1. Ravens had, look, this essentially was the Ravens preseason. Heck of a preseason game. Heck of a preseason game.
I'm feeling it was such a weird game, Kevin. It was such a weird game because there were moments it felt like the Chiefs were just like that. We're running away with it. And you were like, well, I think I even tweeted out, I was like, I feel like the Ravens are now, once they went down 10, are just gonna throw the ball a million times. And I guess they didn't necessarily do that. But Kevin, I gotta get your thoughts on Derrick Henry's usage.
It's game flow, but
okay,
again, if I were to tell you that, I mean, if I were to tell you that the Ravens were to pay a running back $16 million and have him on the sideline and the biggest drive of the game, I mean, that's kind of tough, right? Like, again, if the Ravens are up in this game and you're, running the clock down, Derrick Henry gets 20 plus, 25 plus carries in this game. But I also think Derrick Henry does have value as a receiver. And while Justice Hill was your third down back, I thought Justice Hill played really well tonight. I thought he did a great job. But you paid Derrick Henry $16 million. That is rich for a running back in today's game. Not as rich as Saquon or Josh Jacobs or any of those deals, but still, it's $8 million per season.
Yeah.
I thought that they just went away from it. I mean, they had five carries with him in the first drive of the game. And then he had 3 more before halftime.
Which was
now the run blocking wasn't great. And Henry wasn't really finding a lot of success throughout the game. I thought the Chiefs did a pretty good job with their run defense, and credit to them. But they were in shambles defending that Lamar Henry option early in that game, where they couldn't pick.
Couldn't do shit.
They couldn't pick.
Run that play 100 times and they can't stop it.
Because if you run it it's what they did. They ran plays early on with Henry enough successfully where they had to start loading. It's literally what we laid out throughout the entire offseason. They ran plays successfully with Derrick Henry. He was picking up some chunk gains. And then they start to load the box, and that edge guy creeps in on Henry on the RPOs and on the options. And then Lamar just takes it outside and goes for 15 yards. And then if Lamar does that enough, you have to start leaning that way to prevent it. And then you can either run the ball with Henry again, or you can work play action off of that. So again, it's week 1. It's tough. I wish they had used Henry more. I thought that, again, the run blocking certainly needed some improvement. The Chiefs were getting downhill and getting on him quickly. But again, 13 carries for a $60 million running back is tough when you paid him all that money to come in and do stuff for you.
Yeah, and I mean, it's got to be, I see Steve talking about here, play action is going to be the most lethal form for this offense, and I agree. Yeah, and you saw today a few of Likely's big plays. When those linebackers have to respect Henry and they got to get their momentum going downhill to go stop him, you pull that ball and you start that millisecond, second that it took them to go back, that's the difference. You know, that's the difference right there. So would like to see them use Henry more. Loved everything about Justice Hill tonight. Shout out Justice Hill.
Yeah, man.
What were your thoughts? I'm trying to think of Mark Andrews, and then we'll head over to the defense.
Yeah, I don't have the snap counts obviously yet, but man,
he was like a lineman tonight. I think he was literally.
I saw a tweet that said Mark Andrews out there playing left tackle for my team. We're so screwed, or whatever it was. But look, I mean, you ride the hot hand. Likely gives them a different option. I don't know what they do with this situation. I know that the trademark Andrews crowd is going to be out in full force after this game.
Without a doubt.
I know it's coming, but they do have to make a decision. Not now, right? I mean, not now, but man, how can you let a guy like Likely go? Like Andrews is still one of the best in the league, but this is part of it, right? Teams are going to key on Mark Andrews. Guess what? Now teams are going to key in on Isaiah Likely a little bit more too. But you can't key in on everybody because we saw you can't leave Zay one-on-one. He'll draw penalty flags or he'll just burn you. Hopefully Rashad can get it going a little bit more. Thought there was that catch was awesome, right? Was pretty neutralized for most of the game. It can be tough for a guy to get in rhythm when he's not getting the ball like that. And then he comes up with one of the biggest catches of the game. But for Mark, if the other receivers can continue to cook here, it'll take attention off of him. It'll take, because again, you key in on a guy like that. You have to. He's that good. I know people aren't going to say that after this game.
Yeah,
but
he is.
When we run back to film, whenever it comes out here, I think we'll see the Chiefs keying in on a bunch of guys, Mark Andrews being one of them when he's on the field. And again, when you use Andrews and Likely together, Isaiah Likely is going to benefit from that.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I have Mark Andrews in a bunch of fans. Didn't draft Isaiah Likely in one league this year.
I know. I only have him in one.
But hey, you know, if he's the guy for them and he and Andrews can work in tandem like this and one guy eats 1 week, one guy eats another, that means they're doing it right because defenses will shift their attention to the dominant one and then the other guy will just go off because he's that talented. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of how they play. You know, going into the season, the big question was, can they play together? We saw Likely obviously dominate tonight. We'll see if it becomes more even as the season goes. You know, I assume usually one will have a better game, obviously, but it'll be interesting to see how that goes throughout each week to week. Defense, kind of just overall thoughts on defense. I think they stepped up in massive moments. That's what I'm going to say about the defense. In massive moments, they stepped up. Did they have miscues? Yeah. Were there times where you're like, ooh, this is not looking great? Yeah. But when the moments, lights were brightest, when they needed to make a play, that defense made a play.
Yeah. Look, I mean, it was pretty sloppy early. I mean, I think everybody could have told you it was probably going to be. But again, the Ravens offense kept making mistakes, and the Chiefs offense could not capitalize. Chiefs go 1 for 3 in the red zone. The Ravens are actually worse, but the point is we're talking defense. And the Chiefs had 2 field goals early in this game when they could have easily been up 21-7. It was only 13-7. Yeah. And that was a huge part of not letting the game get too far away from them. You still have a shot. You still believe. And part of that was because, you know, Roquan was on a bunch of different plays. You know, David Ajabo and Travis Jones came up with a huge sack on 3rd down to Mahomes early in the game. I mean, you know, a bunch of guys. Trenton Simpson, I thought, looked awesome tonight. You know, he was the only guy. The Chiefs were just frying the Ravens on that Rashee Rice slot, just cook middle of the field play. Roquan, Malik Harrison, everybody was getting cooked. But Trenton Simpson was the only one who stopped it. So I thought Trenton Simpson was awesome. Marcus Williams had a good play on Juju Smith-Schuster that would have been at least a first down, if not a touchdown. So again, you hold the Chiefs out of the end zone. You force them to kick field goals. And I agree with Connor, right? It's a gritty loss. Gritty loss.
So gritty.
Gritty loss. I think, you know, this, again, I'm a Nuggets fan, so I'm going to bring this to basketball for a second. When the Nuggets have had the Lakers number over the past couple of seasons, and that feels good for me because the Lakers have just like destroyed my childhood as a Nuggets fan. So it feels good to kind of be on the other side of that now. But everybody after the Nuggets win, the Nuggets would win by like 3 points over the Lakers or like 5 points over the Lakers. And everyone was, oh, the Lakers came back. Oh, that's a really good loss for the Lakers. Maybe the Lakers found something out, or maybe maybe that happened. This is not that situation where it's like that was almost became a meme of like, oh, well, haha, really like good Nuggets lost that game like morally.
Yeah.
This is different for the Ravens because I feel like they actually can come out of this game and say, look, that game could have been super ugly. That could have been a really ugly game. But the defense held it down so the offense could find some momentum. And honestly, throughout the entire game, right, Trent Simpson on that third down play to give the Ravens the ball back. I mean, Mahomes leaps up with it was pretty crazy. That was a pretty crazy catch by Mahomes.
Which pissed me off, but that's only because
if that's an interception, the Ravens can drive down the field. And
I was talking about more. I was playing him in fantasy, and that just gave him a random point. And I was like, "Are you serious?"
Did that actually count as a? Oh, I guess
it
did. I guess it did. Man, that's crazy. A two-yard reception.
Yeah, I was like, "Are we serious?"
Wow. Yeah. If we were to go one up, one down, I would agree with Alvin. I mean, obviously, outside of offensive line, I didn't think Malik Harrison had a great game.
No. Can we stop? I mean, obviously, I don't think. I'm just going to get this out of the way, and then we don't have to talk about it. How the hell was Rashee Rice actually active this game? The NFL does just not care about the 8 pending charges. But can we stop putting linebackers on Rashee Rice? Like, that was –
I would like that.
I mean, shout out Andy Reid and them because they're so good at scheming stuff up to get those matchups.
Yeah.
But, man, the only guy I was confident was Trenton Simpson guarding them. And even then, he showed great poise on some of them.
Yeah. By the way, with what you were talking about with them scheming stuff up, Chris Jones took a breather on that last drive and came back in the game late so that he could pick the offensive lineman he was going up against. And it was Daniel Falele. And actually, funny enough, Daniel Falele just threw him on the ground. So it ended up not working for him. But I'll tell you what, on those last 2 plays, Chris Jones against Justice Hill.
Dog.
I was ready to say what the hell are we doing right here?
And he did it.
But you know what? Lamar acknowledged it, and actually on that throw to Zay, which obviously was an egregious miss, Lamar actually wasn't throwing to Zay.
He was throwing to Rashad.
And I think he honestly might have just been, I think he got caught up in the middle of both because he saw Zay breaking open late.
Yeah, he said last second he wishes he would have held on and thrown to Zay.
Yeah, but yeah, man, it's one of those losses where it sucks to lose, man. I hate losing. It feels
the Ravens are fine.
I can't believe that tweet went out. I cannot believe that tweet went out.
Yes, you can.
I mean, I can, but I can't at the same time.
Yeah.
And it obviously got the response I think we all thought it would. So.
Oh, yeah. It got exactly the response. But on a real note, the Ravens are fine. And I do think that tonight, like Kevin, this was the perfect game. The Ravens, backs against the wall, down 10, come back, stop the Chiefs, have the game in their hands. Isaiah likely to tie it or go ahead if they try to go for 2. And it's the millimeters out of bounds. Kevin, we are writing an incredible script for the AFC Championship.
I think we still are.
Ravens Chiefs, part 3 in the past 12 months. And it's going to come down to the Chiefs won by 7. Yeah, because it was won by 7 in the playoffs. Won by 7 week 1. And they got a little bit closer, Kevin. They couldn't get the stop last time. They got the stop this time. They went down millimeters. And then, write it down now. Mark it down now. AFC Championship. Lamar Jackson will have the ball in his hands with an opportunity to take the Baltimore Ravens to the Super Bowl. And he will. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I honestly, look, it's a loss. It stinks, but I think you should go out with your head held high. Wow, there we go.
Or go out calling Kansas City Chiefs fans bitches like Isaiah Likely did.
Leaving the tunnel. Very, very nice and kind words from Isaiah Likely.
Like, okay, Likely, talk your shit.
Yeah, man. Jeez. But yeah, man, tough loss. Certainly some mistakes that they have to clean up, but we're in week 1. I'm not going to sit here and say the season's over because they lost in week 1. Now, if it was the Orioles and it was game 1, we'd be saying the season's over.
Yeah. Oh my God. The Orioles lost game 1. It's done. Done for.
See ya.
Yeah. Anything else, Kevin? I mean, kind of, 2 a.m. It's a late night. Tough loss, but what a night. What a night. Like, it was fun. It was fun.
Crazy game. Thriller. Honestly, just a grade A thriller. Mm-hmm. So, tough game. You're 0-1. Bounce back next week. Put a statement on against the Raiders. Say you're, we're not doing that stuff. We're playing down to opponents this year. And I think everybody will say, you know what? 1-1, close loss to the Chiefs and a dominant win against the team you should win against. I think everybody will feel good.
I will say, because I realized they both posted on their story, so I can say this. Yeah, so we were when Isaiah Likely scored 2 things. So we were watching the game at the studio with Tyler Wells and John Means. John Means is a Kansas City Chiefs fan. Tyler Wells had Isaiah Likely on his bench, and I've never seen a human being go through just being distraught like he was. Every time Isaiah Likely, he was like just going back. He's like, "What? This is the worst thing that ever happened to me." And then John was just, when Isaiah Likely scored at the end before it was reversed, I thought he was going to cry. He had full head and hat, like he was done. But yeah, we had to give John the win. Had to congratulate him. Be a good sport. Yeah, but
crazy.
Yeah, I think the highlight of my night was just every time Isaiah Likely did something, everyone would clap and be like, "Nice, Isaiah," and you would just look back, and Tyler Wells would just be like.
So you are enjoying Tyler Wells' pain.
Yeah, apparently. Sorry, Tyler.
Yeah. That was wow.
Yeah. Wow. But as long as the pain was Isaiah Likely getting, he was at like 28 fantasy points, which once again.
I really cannot believe that they lost that way.
So,
it's still sinking in, man. Like it literally was a toe. Literally.
Oh, no. Like, yeah, no, it's still sinking in, but I'm saying losing on like some crazy BS to the Chiefs. That was on my bingo card. That was 100% on my bingo card.
Well, you know what? I almost had the score right. 26-23 Ravens, 27-20.
I said 27-24. So if they would have, I would have gotten it right, but
damn.
If the Ravens scored a touchdown. That was another thing. It sucked that the Ravens scored or ended up having to kick a field goal anyway, just during that what's it called? The second to last drive where they went for it on fourth, got it, wasted unfortunately like 2 more minutes, and then had to kick a field goal anyway. That was a tough one. Also, shout out Derrick Henry because the line got torched on that.
Oh, yeah. 1-on-1. I think Derek Nottie was the player, and Henry fortunately made him miss, but that would have been
Derrick Henry did
very bad.
He did his first big get out of here. I gotta get this. Before we go, I do want to ask you about this. Concerned about Justin Tucker?
No. I talked about this on Locked On Ravens.
Wet-field.
Yeah. Wet field, and I mean, look, we expect perfection from Justin Tucker, and we can't realistically, like, it's not fair to him to expect it, right? Every kicker goes through stuff like this. Obviously, 50+ was a sore spot for him last year, 1 for 5, but we've been spoiled, man. We've been spoiled. We can all admit it. I'm not worried about him. Still the greatest kicker of all time. Still an absolutely elite kicker today. And you know what? Even if he can't hit 58-yarders anymore with that consistent accuracy, and he only can hit a couple of them or whatever it is, still take that, because every time Justin Tucker steps on the field, I expect him to make it. Every time. And it's still a shock when he doesn't. So
I just keep everything I log on to, I just see the Isaiah Likely foot.
By a toe, man. Just crazy.
By a toe. Yeah, but Kevin, any last thoughts before we head out of here?
No, man, just get him next week. Literally, I mean, again, like I expected to feel a lot worse after this game, and like I've been trying to figure out like how I feel about this game. Honestly,
It makes me mad. It's weird. I
like
feel weird.
the mistakes are glaring and they are upsetting, but also they should not have been in the position they were, partially because the Chiefs were just not able to take advantage. I thought the Chiefs played terribly offensively, for being honest. Like obviously the Xavier Worthy was awesome for them. Like thanks Buffalo, by the way. But outside of Worthy, like Mahomes had a bad interception. I thought they were running too much with Pacheco when it wasn't working. Like it started to work later in the game, but I thought they were riding him too hard in the middle of the game, and they were getting like it was like 3rd and 6 for them on like every play or something. And then Kelsey had a drop. Pacheco had like they weren't playing well, but the Ravens were able to take advantage of that and almost come back in the game. So, yeah,
Just one of those games. You move on. I'm not too upset. You took so much from it, and I think this team is in a lot better shape than they were.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think that'll do it for this edition of Kevin and Zach React. Ravens lose in a heartbreaking fashion by millimeters a toenail to the Kansas City Chiefs 27-20. We will be back tomorrow after the Orioles take on the Tampa Bay Rays. We have just switched right back over to baseball. Whew. Only one day off, and I feel like I haven't talked baseball in years. I'm not even
I know, man. We're just starting the NFL season, but man, baseball season is coming down the stretch.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So down the home stretch, we will be back.
Yep. And we're doing this every single Ravens game.
Every
single one. So obviously the streaming schedule is I'll do Locked On Ravens. So I'll fire it up over there. I'll do that stream right after the game. And then right after that stream, we'll be coming over here and doing Kevin and Zach React, talking about everything for this game or for the Ravens.
Yep.
So
let's do it. We'll see you all tomorrow after.
Did you get to the super chat, by the way?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Cool. On kickoff.
Just wanted to check.
Yep.
Appreciate you, man.
Yep. Awesome. Appreciate everyone. And we will be back tomorrow after the Orioles game. Chewie.